Alright, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to incorporate post-processing into your Unity games. I know for a fact this works in 3D. I believe it's the same idea in 2D, so if you're working in 2D, don't worry. I think it'll still apply to you. To begin with, I kind of have just a sample scene set up here with a first-person controller, some trees, and some water, just to kind of demonstrate. But first, before I actually show you all the post-processing, you're going to need to download it. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, you're going to need to go up here to your window, press on that. You're going to go into Package Manager, click on that, open this tab in this window, and then up here it should say In Project for you, unless you've already changed it. You're going to want to change it to All Packages. Right? Once you do that, the list will expand, and you're going to go down to Post-Processing. Right? Open that up. Select the 3.0.1, which is the newest version, and then down here in the bottom right of that window, there's going to be something that says Install, Download, something like that. So go ahead and download that, pause the video, and then come right back when you have it downloaded. Alright, so to actually include it in the game, we're going to need a post-processing volume, right? And what that is basically a collider in the game that shows or tells the camera when to go from one post-processing effect to another one, or from one post-processing profile to another one, all right? So here we're going to have to create an empty object. I'll call it post-process volume, all right? And then I'm going to add a component, a post-process volume. All right. Before we do anything else, something that I always forget is you need to add a new layer. All right. I already have it created, but basically you're gonna go up into the layers, click on it, click Add Layer, and then here in User Layer 8 or wherever, actually, whatever the next one is, you'll add volumes. Okay. And then you're gonna have to add that layer to this post-processing volume. It's not going to do it on its own. All right. So now for this demonstration, I'm going to click on Is Global just to begin with, and that just means that any camera in the scene that has a post-processing layer on it will see this volume. All right. So I'll click that, and then next down here, I'm going to create a new post-processing profile. I'll click New. And that'll make one for me. Should be in my assets, or it's somewhere in there. And now you can see here, we can add effects, okay? But before I start adding effects, we're gonna wanna add a post-processing layer to our actual camera. So whatever camera you're using to render your screen, that's the one that you're gonna wanna add this to. You're gonna click on Add Component, Post-Process Layer, go down here. The trigger is just going to be whatever the camera is, like whatever the object that this is on, that's going to be the trigger. And then under layer, we're going to select our volumes. All right. So now if we go back here, just to make sure that it's all working, we're going to add an effect. Let's add depth of field just to make sure, because that's quite obvious. So now if we select focus distance and turn that on, and we reduce it really low, there, you can see that it's getting very blurry, so the depth of field is working, and the post-processing is also working. If this isn't happening, you should go back, make sure that the layer is correct, make sure that you downloaded everything, make sure you have the profile created, and make sure that the camera has the post-processing layer attached to it. All right. So now I'm going to get rid of this, and the first thing I'm going to do is turn on the game and get to a nice area where I can actually see some bloom and some kind of effects that I'm going to want to have. So I'll walk down here, and this kind of looks like a decent spot. All right, there you go. So now from here, we're going to start adding our post-processing effects. So the first thing I'm going to add is some bloom. All right. this kind of adds a glow to the scene. So if I turn it up really high, you'll see the sky starts to glow, the water starts to glow. And if you turn it up real high like this, it kind of looks almost like a dream scene. All right, and we're going to turn that down lower. We just want it high enough that we'll get a couple little highlights on the water, like probably around there. See, you can see it's starting to shine. Maybe a little lower actually because the sky is getting a bit much. Maybe around 18. I think that looks good. The threshold, what that does is it just, see, so it just shows you the level of light that there has to be for the bloom to actually apply. So we'll leave that there. And then all the other things, you can play around with it. I'm not going to go into it. I also like to add some depth of field, just so that the distance kind of gets a bit blurry. So if we turn on focus distance, turn it down, just enough so that, there you go, so that the distance is blurry, but close up we can still see. Again, you can just play around with this. And one effect that actually has a huge difference on making your game look kind of professional is motion blur. So all games nowadays kind of have this sort of motion blur, or at least most of them. So like this is what it looks like with it on. I'll make that a bit bigger. This is what it looks like with it on, and then this is it with no motion blur. I think it looks much better with a little bit of blur. You can also reduce the shutter angle so it's not as intense. And there you go. So now if we go from our regular camera, like so, this is what it normally looks like. And then with the post-processing effects, this is what it looks like. Now, I may have gone a little bit too crazy with the bloom. Probably want to turn that down. And the focus distance is definitely too close, so I'll turn that up a bit. Right there. So we got a nice little bit of motion blur, and a bit of bloom, a bit of depth of field. And then with it off, it looks kind of plain. With it on, again, there you go. The sky is kind of shining how it's supposed to. There's some reflections on the water. You got a little blur. So some other things that you can add. If you want to make your game kind of look cinematic, you can add some grain, and it'll kind of look like filmy. A vignette, a lot of games actually have a small vignette, even if you don't realize. So if we add the intensity, see, so if you want a real tight one, you can go like that, but you probably want one just sort of there. Add some smoothness to it, and then get it down even more so that the edge is just barely there. And you can even change the color, make it a bit more transparent. Actually, that doesn't do anything, huh? But if you want to add kind of like if you want some red there, you can also use this for health, and just that sort of thing. So this makes your game look a bit more cinematic. It's definitely not for every game, but for the kind of look that we're going for, it does for sure. It works. And then finally, the last thing that I'm going to add is a bit of color grading. So now this just kind of works to give a bit of more of a mood to your game. So if you want it to be kind of like a warm area, you can give it a little bit of a red tint. If you want it to be a cold area, you can give it a bit of a blue tint. We'll turn it on to ACES and low definition range. Actually, no, ACES does not apply. So just low definition range, since I'm using the low definition pipeline. And then if we look at lift, you can see we can change the color pretty extremely. So since this is kind of like a beach area, if I want it to be just a bit warmer, just go ahead, do that. There you go, it already looks much warmer. If you're in kind of a snowy area, you can go ahead and pull it down like that, and suddenly your character's freezing, right? Now, one other very powerful thing that post-processing effects can do is have several different areas, like I mentioned before. So if I turn off is global here, you'll see how the camera was before. Now we're going to add a actual box collider to this post-processing volume object. So we'll go ahead and do that. Box collider. And then if you focus on it, it should be green like that. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to put this back to 0. There you go. So what this collider is going to do is it's going to actually tell our camera or the game where you want these post-processing effects to occur. So if I wanted this kind of beachy area to be, let's say we want it to be cold, right? I'm going to make it much larger. So I'll scale it up like crazy. Gotta get it a bit more. There you go. There you go. Maybe a bit tighter than that, actually. There you go. Like that. That's good. Yeah, so now you can see if we play our game, we're up here, there's no post-processing effects. As we run in, oh wow, make sure that you make it a trigger or you're going to walk all over it. See, if you enter the box area, you get the post-processing effect. This is real kind of, I don't know, it's real sudden, so you're going to want to add a blend distance. We'll make it 10. And then here you can see as I walk towards it, let's say I was getting into a snowy area, slowly I'm getting colder and colder and colder until finally I have the full effect. Perfect. Yeah, and then let's say we wanted it to be a kind of a warmer area, or maybe there was a fire going on nearby. Then, there we are, hot area, and as we kind of leave, it goes back to normal. There you go. So, hopefully I didn't miss anything. Hopefully it was helpful as well. If anyone watching this video has any questions, or if you just if you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments and I'll answer every single one of them. If you just found that it helps you or you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a comment as well because it helps out because I'm trying to grow the channel. If I helped you, make sure you leave a like as well. And yeah, hopefully I helped you guys out. Cheers.